So you're a hard gainer, especially in the legs. You want more leg size, you want more leg thickness, you want bigger wheels. Well, today we're gonna go over how to make your legs grow and some things you might be missing in your training to inhibit your leg growth. So the big topic today is leg size. And I'm going to show you some classic exercises that we use here at the gym for years, but also some traditional ones that you would find in a normal gym that you just might be doing wrong and that are not giving you the results that you want. The first step, or the first exercise that we use, is the core movement of all leg size at Ludus Magnus Gym and Wenning Strength is our belt squat. The reason is that we can get almost all the muscle activation that a normal squat provides with none of the back compression. And we've already talked about that, so if you want to go look at the belt squat series on that, that will help you tremendously. But today what we're going to do is we're going to emphasize leg mass. So how do I take a normal belt squat or a modification of a belt squat and make it build bigger and stronger legs? It's simple. Slow the shit down. So when you guys are doing your big movements, if your main goal is muscle size and not necessarily strength or how much weight you can move, take some weight off and go slower and watch your strength plummet. The reason is that when you go faster and put more weight on, your body is more reliant on stretch reflex, which doesn't necessarily have to do with a ton of muscle building. That's why you notice bodybuilders do everything slower and lighter than powerlifters and tend to get more aesthetic results. The reason is that time under tension is your best friend if you're trying to be a bigger and thicker legs or any body part of that nature. So on the belt squat, we've showed it on warm-ups a little bit, we've showed it on some movements, but what I'm gonna do is show you how to build insanely huge legs doing so. So as we said before, we already know the belt squat. Now, if our goal is to build insanely strong quads, then we want more of a narrower stance and we want a little bit more toe pressure, which is exactly the way I tell you not to be if you want to be powerful. But we're not talking about power today, we're talking about leg size. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit beyond narrow, shoulder width apart. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to let the knee track over the toe. And we're actually going to come on the ball of our foot. And we're going to come up really, really slow. So what I like to use on this is some sort of a 3-3 or 5-5 count. Go watch the tempo training video. But in this particular exercise, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the ultimate way to develop massive quads. Now, if I want this exercise to make my glutes get bigger or more defined, which is big in a lot of fitness and other endeavors, all I gotta do is widen my foot out to more of a geared type squat or a powerlifting type squat, turn my toes a little straighter, and now sit back first. Instead of letting my knees come forward, I sit my ass back and I push my knees apart. Going down as far as I can that way and coming up this way, pushing my hips forward and squeezing my glutes as hard as I can. These two exercises right here on a 5-5 or 3-3 tempo will turn your legs and ass into granite. So for you broke asses, this is how you would do another belt squat. You could stand on 2 tandem benches or these foam blocks. I like foam blocks because they're a little bit more unstable, so my body has to be a little more athletic to do so. But this is another way that you can do your belt squat. As you can see, with that thing wanting to swing, it's still even kind of hard for me to bounce. But this is a great way. It's just going to be hard for you to overload. So if you're looking for maximum muscle, this is going to be a really hard exercise to put a lot of weight on and just get set up. That's why I developed the belt squat. But this is a great way to get those squats in, get your glutes and get your muscles big without putting the compression on your spine. The next thing that I figured out a long time ago was that hamstrings like slow and steady. They don't like jerking, they don't like being super forceful. You want to slow the shit down. So when you're doing your hamstring curls, make sure that you're following that particular ideal. So instead of trying to add more and more and more weight all the time, make it slower and more steady and more controlled, and watch your hamstrings grow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can do it fast up and then slow down. Or you can do it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or you can do ratchet sets. The point is you're slowing it down. You're making it different, you're making it confused, but you're doing it by changing tempos and the types of movements, but you're not necessarily changing the weight per se. Now that 4 on the stack would be really easy in my own tempo, but changing it the way I just did turned it into about an 8. So make sure when you're doing these exercises to gain more leg size, slow it down and use it what it's intended for, and that is to put on mass. So another exercise that I'm not too fond on, but if you really want those massive teardrops around your knees, you're just not going to be able to avoid not doing them, and that is the leg extension. Now, the leg extension's gotten a bad rap for being bad for your knees, and I tend to agree with that. But if we're only talking about muscle size, then sometimes joint health kind of goes by the wayside. And you really don't need to use as much weight as you think you do if, like we talked about earlier in the tempo YouTube video, that you actually want to go slower on this stuff. So when I'm doing my leg extensions, the first thing I'm thinking about is holding at the top and dropping in about a 3 to 5 second count. Same thing when coming up. Don't put any power into it, just move slow. And you'll notice that the muscle will have to work triple time with half the weight. And that's where I think you can really get a lot of bang for your buck out of your leg extensions. Start to get these big separations. You don't need to go heavy, you just need to go slow. And that might be why on the leg extension you may not be seeing the growth that you want to see out of your quadriceps. And it's probably because you're trying to go too heavy and fast versus light and slow. So when you're trying to build mass, make sure that you're slowing things down. If you're trying to build power, go fast, go explosive. But just remember, muscle mass really works well with time under tension. So slow things down, change eccentrics, and make sure that you're keeping everything steady so that the muscle has to do the work and not the tendon. But do not forget that if you want 800-pound thick ass legs, you better be able to squat 800 pounds. There is no replacement for being super strong, and that's how allowed me to do massive amounts of accessory work with huge weights, both steady and controlled, because I'm already strong. So I'm a firm believer that you need to get very, very strong before you can get big so that you can do hard stuff for reps.